to order. The City of Monona Finance and Personnel Committee, Monday, December 1st. Could you please call the roll?
Alder Capullo.
Here.
Alder Wood.
Here.
Mayor Moore.
Here. Do I have a motion to? Do we have minutes?
No minutes.
No minutes.
No minutes.
I was thinking, okay, thank you. We don't see anybody here for appearances.
Nope.
No unfinished business. We'll move to new business consideration of resolution 25-12-2849. Preliminary resolutions declaring the intent to exercise special assessment police powers under section 66.0703 Wisconsin statutes for street improvements to Arrowhead Drive.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, and a second.
And Director Stefani is
Yeah.
available to answer questions here.
Dan, do you want to say anything about this, or just here to answer questions?
No, Mayor, I can give a quick summary
Okay, that'd
of
be
the
great.
resolution, if that'd be okay?
Yep, for sure.
Okay. Right, the preliminary resolution is just that, declaring an intent to exercise the special assessment police powers for street improvements to Arrowhead Drive. The assessment zone for this resolution would be from Wellhaven to Volks Lane, and there's 14 properties in this section to be assessed. Per city ordinance, up to 60% of the cost will be assessed to each property. 40% is the city's cost. We will have the public hearing at the January meeting. The letters have already gone out to the residents as of November 21st, informing them of their cost and the cost per foot for their parcel. So they do have that information already at this time, and so far today we have not received any questions. One thing to note, item 5 on the resolution, in the past we have allowed up to 8 installments, 8 years for payback. I believe that's what we'll be bringing forward for City Council to decide at the January meetings, but that's what we'll be putting into the director's report for the assessments for the January meetings. The Class 1 notice is scheduled to appear in the newspaper on December 4th. So as of right now, we've met the criteria, the state statutes and city ordinance for the preliminary resolution.
Thank you, Dan. Any questions from Dan?
Yes. Question for Dan. So the public notice went out before the public hearing, and did any of the neighbors attend the public hearing?
The public hearing, I believe, is scheduled for the January 5th.
Oh, okay, so it's not
Yep.
yet. Okay.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay. And you've heard nothing from any of the neighbors at this point?
Not yet.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Yes, Doug?
Yeah, but just, I don't know, Dan, how many streets we have left now without curb and gutter?
We have the dead end of Outlook, and we have Interlake East and West, and Winnequa Drive.
Yeah,
Winnequa Drive, we are planning to resurface next year. So if there's any plans to finish that with curb and gutter, it's long into the future.
right.
There's only 5 parcels on that, and we've communicated with the property owners, and at this time, I think the best way to go is just to do a full depth replacement. But Interlake East and West, I think would be, and the dead end of Outlook would be the ones that we want to focus on in the near future.
Okay. I just brought that up because this used to be a lot more common that we would be doing the assessments because there were a lot more streets without curb and gutter, and we finally sort of whittled it down to just kind of loose ends.
Yep.
Right, just very few.
Right.
That's all.
Any other comments, questions? Not? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. That takes us to, thank you, Dan. Motion takes us to 6B, consideration of ordinance 1225-800, updating the fees, fines, and penalties schedule. And I will point out that the updates that have been provided are already included in the operating budget as presented.
I can provide a quick overview
Sure.
if you'd like. Just trying to do these here. Just to kind of get a quick summary of, these are essentially, all of these on the slides are essentially the highlighted yellow versions in your packet in the actual fee schedule. So we have currently, this is an ambulance fee changing from $120 per hour per unit to basically a dual listed based on the minimum 2 providers essentially from the chief. He is also available online, I believe, to answer questions on this one. Dog and cat licenses, these are all minor increases for these here.
Neil, is there any way you could minimize the sidebar?
I think I have to do it on that computer, but I think I can. See, I can do it here, can you see? Ironically enough, that's not my screen. That one's up there.
Ah, okay.
That's why
I dare say I asked on this one.
Just so you know, on the dog license,
Actually-
What's that?
on the dog licenses, a lot of that's county increases because the county's increasing it. So we collect for the county,
Yep.
and then they send us a check back. So ours is a minimum increase. Majority of that's county increase.
Okay.
And I was just saying that when this came up, I asked how many people actually go about registering their cat or dog. I would imagine it's fairly minimal. Is it?
Yeah, it's gone downhill.
Yeah.
We used to have a lot of registrations. I know you probably know the numbers better than I do offhand. If you
Yeah,
want to speak.
probably 425 in the late 2018, 2019, 21, and then we're down to probably about 300 now.
There's the same amount of dogs.
Yeah, or more, probably, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Less people are registering.
Erosion control storm, I'm sorry, how many?
Well, I don't want to get too sidetracked, but if we could sell the licenses at vet clinics, I don't know if we can do that, but it'd be a lot, like when you go to get your rabies shot, you get the tag from them. You could buy the license at the same time, it'd be nice.
That's a good idea.
But,
Have we ever looked into it?
I don't know if we haven't looked at it. I know you can. Madison does that, I believe. I don't think we've ever looked into it. Something we
So
can
if
talk to
if
see
somebody purchases their license there, and since this is a county, in part a county-related thing, do they automatically send the money to the county?
It probably does. We'll have to check into it.
well, yeah.
There may be a reason why we haven't done it that way. And possibly, I'll have to check and see.
Okay, anyway.
Okay. Next.
Erosion control and stormwater permits, but just a $50 increase in both of these. Actually, discussions with Brad, we also talked about the one issue we kind of have with this is this is essentially like a single-family home versus a site like Topgolf is essentially the same fee right now, the way this is currently organized.
Yeah.
We have the ability, certainly in terms of development agreements, usually to collect additional funds for professional services related to these types of things. So, but something we may be taking a look at in the future is making more of a sliding scale based on the size and complexity of the project. But for now, it's just proposing a $50 increase for both. This list of licenses are all remaining the same cost. However, we are essentially breaking out an applicant background check fee in addition to each one of these, simply because some of these applications have multiple applicants. So we need, if we get to somewhere where it's just one fee, we were actually costing the city money because we have to run essentially the background checks for all of these types of licenses. So these all licenses are remaining the same. However, there is an tacking on a new $15 per applicant fee for the background checks to get completed.
Okay.
Do we have an idea how much revenue that will generate, Mark?
I don't know offhand. It's minimum, probably 500, maybe at the most.
Oh,
It's
okay.
the objective is really to really kind of cover our costs, which in several of these we weren't
Oh, I know.
actually doing that,
Right,
so.
yeah. No, I'm familiar with
Yeah.
the need for it, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The bigger one would be the fee increase for the late fees on that.
Yeah.
Just
Um,
400 to 250.
Some of the parks and recreation fees, these are certainly, again, a variety of categories here. We'll go for the next couple slides here. So these are exclusive use fees. You see the increases for non-residents. Temporary structures was changed from just $100 in general to $100 per tent. Private utility locating, picnic tables, again, some minor changes. I'll have to have, I believe the special event park use rates, there's 3 numbers here. I believe that has to do with the size of the event. We'll have to have Director Anderson actually confirm that.
That's correct.
There we go. Thank you, Jake. Good to see you. Appreciate it, brother. So lake access permit fees, again, these are all minor increases for the most part to essentially using the launch facilities we have. Any questions on those?
Jake, I just have a question, actually, since you are on. I know that there's been discussion with our colleagues that share Lake Monona around a potentially different distribution of launch fees, if you will, because my understanding is that we're tend to be losing out a little bit because of. Is that right?
So the challenge is where they purchase the pass
Right.
and where they're using the pass.
Right.
And so what we see is a lot of pass holders that are using our primary launch, which is at Lottis Park. And so we've had several meetings between City of Madison, Dane County, and ourselves about what a more equitable distribution of those fees would look like.
Right.
And so we will be meeting again in January and early spring and provide a recommendation back to our boards about what that might look like.
Great. I just
But
didn't
yeah.
know if we were
But yes,
having any luck or having any progress in that regard. 'Cause
I'm not prepared to offer a
Got
recommendation
it.
yet, but I think we'll see what those conversations will hold here.
Thank you.
Okay, public swimming pool fees, I think the general, if you remember from Director Anderson's budget presentation, I think this was trying to get folks to go away from the daily admission fees to focus more on season passes was kind of the intent behind a lot of these fee changes. Again, putting some emphasis on certainly the non-residents, the increases being there, and again, trying to shift folks to the season passes, but you see why those rates actually went down a little bit versus the individual dailies going up. Similarly, the other thing with rentals, and again, taking the shift a little bit more towards non-residents versus residents on those. Any questions on those?
Nope.
No.
Okay. Similarly, with the river rink, most of these fees, again, trying to just adjust to get a little bit more surety behind, I think, some of the revenue behind that rather versus individual fees versus actually getting season passes. Again, focusing on certainly the resident versus non-resident costs for each one of these categories. Any questions on the river rink?
Nope.
Okay. Here's probably the current fee for the parkland fee in lieu of land dedication fee. This is probably the one significant increases that we've been looking at. Conversation with Director Anderson, did a survey of all neighboring communities in Dane County through his other professionals in the area. Our current fee is listed at $714 and adjusted annually for CPI, which actually brings it to $1,417 is our current fee that we charge per unit. Based on the comparables, looking at especially the 4 right around us, this is actually consulting with Jake. This is essentially, I recommended 4,000 single-family unit for $3,000 per multifamily unit. Out of our 4 nearest neighbors, still puts us, there 3 of them are still more expensive than Monona is. In addition, as you've kind of looked at that fee, and I think it's in your packet, Monona is not charging an impact fee. If you look at like City of Madison, who is more expensive than this, these numbers here, they're also charging a park impact fee on top of their dedication fee. So in terms of relationship, in terms of how overall price comparison, this is still a pretty comparable, pretty competitive value at this point. Certainly the timing is knowing we have certain projects in the pipeline right now that would be coming around with this. There are certainly other ways to, in terms of how these get applied and negotiated. Other communities that are essentially lower than this are often communities that have plenty of green space available and are actually looking to add significant park space. Not necessarily the money, but they actually want to have, they need, in terms of adding a subdivision, like say in my hometown of Sun Prairie, they need a park space to serve that particular subdivision as it goes in. So they're certainly looking at an equal opportunity for either land dedication versus the actual of the. The other advantage certainly to the dedication fee is that there are not nearly the restrictions on the use of these fees that there would be for something like an impact fee. It's much higher, the impact fees are a much higher standard that need to be hit. Can only be spent on specific projects that are approved at the time the impact fee is adopted, and if you don't spend it, you have to give that money back. So there are certainly additional restrictions on impact fees versus this fee, the dedication fee. So questions for
Questions on
either
this one?
Mr. Anderson or myself?
No, well, my only concern is, it's adding to the cost of housing, but at the same time, we're clearly well below.
And housing adds cost to municipal government,
That's true.
so
Yeah.
there's got to be a balance.
A fair question though, Walter.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I almost thought, is there any benefit to reducing the single-family unit to, I mean, it's a relatively small amount to developers, so it's not like that would boost the amount of single-family opportunities we would have, so.
True. Again, that's certainly, the multifamily units are certainly where a majority of
Yeah.
future revenue would come, I think, with this fee. Absolutely.
How would the single family, I mean, what would that apply to?
It would have to be a new construction.
It have to be like
Yeah.
a vacant land
Yeah.
that was built on. We're probably only talking about 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Or somebody subdivided their land or something to that effect. Currently, I don't know if there's even,
Highly unlikely.
there's the one FFA land, or the federal land
Yeah.
that's vacant right now. So that'd be the one that would apply to probably more than anything. That's getting sold at this moment.
Yeah.
And again,
okay.
the differences we used all to try to keep it consistent with how some neighboring communities did that.
Right,
Some of them have the same value, actually, on that comparative sheet. They just have one fee per unit, no matter what it is. Certainly something we could look at. But there are examples of, I think, in that comparative sheet that do a reduced amount for senior housing projects. They have a lower number for that.
right.
I would imagine you could certainly do something for an affordable housing project. There's probably something that could be done as well, if there was interest in doing
I mean, we
that.
have the flexibility to.
We have the flexibility to do that, right. We can still have this as our fee schedule and
Gotcha.
make adjustments without having everything spelled out.
Okay.
Yep. Okay,
Questions on
any
those?
other questions on this one?
Nope.
Okay,
Just some other fees. Last year, as a certified survey map is increasing it from $200 to $250, and it's $25 for each lot, up to $50 for each lot. Again, this is probably something that's not going to affect a whole lot of revenue, but again, it tried to cover a little bit better job of covering some staff time involved in that. Then one new fee that has been added is a TIF application fee. Essentially, this requires a developer who's actually going to be pursuing TIF assistance with the city to actually complete a formal application and actually submit a fee in order to do that. One, it certainly helps offset some staff time in terms of costs to review that, but it also kind of maybe weeds out folks who are just kind of kicking tires and don't necessarily really have a real project. This is kind of a good way to vet that a little bit, so.
do we know what surrounding communities do? Is that pretty typical to have a TIF?
I believe Director
Application fee?
Plowman has taken a look at that, and it is pretty common, and I think believe he did actually also run this by our CDA chair as well, who
Sure.
endorsed the fee, I think, so.
Yes, good evening. That's correct on both counts. So I'd say about half of the communities around us do this application fee,
Okay.
or have some form of application fee. It varied quite a lot, but this proposal mimicked, I should say this is $1,000 non-refundable application fee. This closely mimics Middleton, so it's very comparable to them. I'd say there was quite a range though for these. Madison, for example, is 1.5% of the entire ask of the TIF ask. So scales quite differently, but this is intended for consultant time,
Sure.
and again to have some skin in the game.
Sure.
It would be TIF revenue too, not general fund, no. So if you're thinking it's general fund, it's TIF.
Yep, okay, thank you. Any other questions on this one?
And that's actually our,
Okay,
those are our fees, so.
great. I have a motion on the floor, do I not?
Do we? I don't.
Did you guys?
We did not have a motion. on the floor.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Sorry. You have a motion and a second?
Yep.
And a second, okay. Any other? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Fee schedule passes. That takes us to acceptance of general fund accounts payable checks dated November 14 to 24, 25. Mark?
Yeah, there's really not much in here, just a couple little things to hit. Page 37, again, is our capital, or Amazon, basic credit card that we pay on. A lot of it's just related to the library. Uses it more than majority, or Parks and Rec Department. What else here? I really don't, I didn't really, kind of about all I had noted. If anybody has any questions?
Any questions for Mark?
No.
Do I have a motion?
Move to accept the accounts payable.
Second.
And a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The payable checks are accepted. Do we have any staff updates?
I do not.
No? Okay, I'll
Move
take
to
a motion
adjourn.
to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 We are adjourned.